Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say hello and welcome. Welcome to a very special edition of the program Ashford Garley Live on British Radio Africa. Today is the 27th of November, 2020, Friday afternoon in Liberia, Friday morning in other parts of the world, and Friday afternoon, early afternoon in America. Tonight, this afternoon, this morning, we have come into British Radio Africa for the first time. The Honorable himself, the Standard Bearer of the Alternative National Congress, the rotational chair of the CPP, Alexander Benedict Cummings, is our special guest this afternoon. And very shortly, as soon as we get a signal from Volcano Shutton, my co-host, you will see him next to me. And then following that, we will introduce to you Chairman Cummings from CPP, and of course the ANC. Now, do me a favor, don't be selfish. This is not about just you alone. Okay? Invite a few friends and let them know that we are going to have all kinds of fun tonight. And just in case you're celebrating the birthday today, I'd like to say congratulations. And let us sure hope that you live to see many, many more birthdays to come. If you are in fact celebrating any type of special occasion, we want to say congratulations as well. Now, don't be selfish. Grab something to drink. Get the popcorn rolling. Invite a few friends. Simply by hitting the share button. And with that said, let's see Dumbat Sigby. I'd like to say hello to you. Jack Merch, Philip Bala, Patrick Logan, Moses Yimpa, Dita Luogan, Sifas Koroma is in the building also. My own sister, Mona Koti. You know, I went up the hill the other day, Mona. And then the Godfather himself next to Sandy is in the building as well. Melvin Gartel, Alice Nimlet, Othello Grisbit, Sergio, Emmanuel Sherman, James Ratto is in the building as well. Listen, if you would have just shared the video 3 times, you will triple the numbers of viewers you have right now. Golimpa Dolo, Francis N. Johnson is in the building as well. We also have May Carter, my sister who doesn't like me, but I still have love for you, May. I know you're doing your lunch break now, and you were having lunch with us. At this time, folks, let me make way to introduce to you my co-host. He's the Eruptible. I don't know if the volcano will in fact erupt tonight, but as always, folks, it feels great to be back. This is another day. He took a break last night when we had the Quantity episode of Bridge Radio Africa on Thursday. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we introduce to you Mr. Volcano Shelton. Shelton, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you, Ashford. It's a pleasant good afternoon to all of our listeners, viewers around the world. Good evening to the folks in Liberia, because I know it's nice side there. It's good to be back again on another edition. Today we have a formidable guest, one-time presidential aspirant, Mr. Alexander Cummings, who will be appearing here to discuss some of the trending issues in the country. And, I think we're going to have a wonderful time, just reviewing the situation there and what his take on what's happening and how is he, contributing in a positive way. So can't wait,
Okay. Honorable Cummings just got back to the city from the southeast, and we will have the opportunity for him to give us first-hand information as to how things are in the southeast. And I'm told the roads are pretty bad in the southeast, and despite the deplorable conditions of the roads, politicians still find time, okay, to go out there to reach out to the voters. So we should have some interesting development tonight when Honorable Cummings comes on. Okay, he is the rotational chair of the CPP. He's also the Senate Bureau of the Alternative National Conference, the ANC. Now, just by thinking outside the box, Shelton, what are some of the things that you expect to hear from Mr. Cummings tonight?
But I think one of the important things he will be talking about would be probably the economy first, to talk about the economy. Also, peace and security. People think that because there is the absence of bullet shooting, there's peace. We've seen four auditors died mysteriously. We've seen three boys missing up to now. We don't know whether they're dead or alive. We also, heard about, the spike in armed robbery in the country, and those are issues that kind of uh, create questionability around, safety and security. Again, I talked about the economy. I'm sure he's going to probably talk about the healthcare system in the country, because people are dying from little to nothing. I just had a friend who traveled to Liberia, and within the next 3 weeks, he was trying to come back, and he was told that he had COVID. He was taken to the 14 military hospital, where within days he passed away. Um, but then again, it's saying it was kidney failure, so the story's all over the place. So the healthcare system. But I think one other area that he should be talking about tonight would be the educational system. You and I know, you're already on the grounds, and you see how, everything is about money. These schools open up just to make money, but are they really imparting knowledge? Is the Ministry of Education holding accountable, schools to provide the kind of education that the young people are paying for? Struggling families, how do they pay, for such high price when it comes to education? So I guess it's going to cover a spectrum of so many things here tonight.
Now, Shelton, I had the opportunity today to visit Badnersville Estate. And while in Badnersville, I decided to conduct a few polls, to ask the voters where they were leaning. And it was pretty much almost a tie in a place that is seen as the stronghold of Senator Dillon. You'll be surprised that if I go back to listen to the video, I think Thomas Fallon had a little edge on Senator Dillon, and the people know about the issues. So leaving from Badnersville, went to the dry rest market. There's another place called the uh Ben something. Where you got a Ben and Torrent or something. So now tomorrow I plan to go into the stronghold of Representative Fowler to see what are the people thinking, and why it is true that they might not be later, but I'm telling you, they know about the issues. Some people said to me plain blank, there's no need to vote because we voted for these people in the past. Look at our lives. The people are suffering. Why should I vote? And they are clearly saying these things. You
But I
know,
think I think I think it would be a sad mistake for them not to vote if they want their lives changed.
and I just
So I think that should be the existential message throughout this campaign. Um, how important it is to vote, because you put them there through the ballot, and so to remove them, you have to go through the same process. And I think that would be preposterous if a lot of Liberians choose to say that, we
yeah,
put them in, and
somebody
we
just put a name to me. It's called Bend and Stop. It's
yeah,
a place
yeah.
called Bend and Stop.
Hmm.
I went to the dry rest market, then I went to the Bannersville market as well. And interesting it, I saw two young ladies. One was selling raw cassava, the other was selling cola nuts. And I asked them, who are you going to be voting for? Interestingly, they are best friends, but this is the beauty of democracy. They both disagree. The other lady that
Absolutely.
was selling the raw cassava says she will vote for Thomas Fowler. And the
Hmm.
other lady who was selling the cola nut says she will vote for Darius DeLon. My brother, you will see that these people know more about the issues And some of us who stay in America and think that we know it all, they are the ones that are feeling the pain. They are not stupid. And another lady said to me, listen, I am not here for bag of rice. I am not here for t-shirt. My people are suffering. These are the actual voters. I said, are you registered to vote? She said, yes, we are registered to vote. Enough is enough. And we are going to go out there. And some of them didn't want to come on camera. Some of them came on camera, but to my surprise, a place that is considered the stronghold of Dallas Geelong, even at that, listen, believe you me, Shelton, Thomas Fowler was strong in that area as well. So now I'm going to flip this switch, all right, and go to Thomas Fowler's stronghold in the 72nd area tomorrow and see what the people have to say. And it will come back to let you know as well.
Well, again, sometimes people would say things off the record and then behind the scenes to do something different. So who knows? It could appear that these people have strongholds, but then when the voters go to the poll, they know who they want and they vote behind the scenes. So no one knows actually, because we can't just take all the crowd pooling and all of that in face value. I mean, as authentic, we should be taking it in just some kind of charade, because it's the election season, so crowds will pool, and it could be a conglomeration of people of all walks of life. It doesn't mean that when they go to the ballot box, they're going to be voting for a specific candidate. But again, I would think that they will vote their conscience, like you said, they know the pinch they're in, they know what's trending in the country, they know how hard it is. The economy is bad, cost of living. I heard the rate is on the decrease, but prices remain high and spiked. So that in itself should speak. I mean, rather speak to them in ways that they should know what actually they want for themselves. And I will hope that Mr. Cummings tonight will address some of those critical issues as we probably be going to him soon.
We just got a communication from Honorable Cummings through his chief of staff that they are running a little bit late. And that's how we have to be. When you are playing host to some of these high profile guests, you have to be a little patient,
Hmm.
So the chief of staff just sent me the text that they're going through some technical difficulty, and very soon Honorable Cummings will show up.
But let's
And
go. Let's go to something else quick. Let's talk about the
hold
road
on,
project that I saw you.
hold on, Sheldon. Before we go to the
Okay.
road project, I want us to talk about. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go to the funeral
Okay.
service of the former public works minister,
Okay.
uh,
Mr. Yimpa.
Mr. Yimpan, Abudu Yimpan. And listen, sometimes you disagree with people, you disagree with the decisions they make, but in 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 time of death, you have to put everything aside and say, wow, this man was 54, 55 years old, very young in his prime, and today he's no more. So I mean, it was a sad day for the country, and the president referred to this man as the bio medicine. This guy was very energetic. I mean, he was the guy that was up to the task. He was concerned about building roads in Liberia and other parts of the country. And here we are today. You know, we don't have him around. And again, may his soul continue to rest in peace. I'm told he collapsed from stroke. That went really bad. I am also the blood pressure a patient, and I make sure I have my cup and do not mess with taking my medication. You know, and We're going to miss him so dearly. And just when we were thinking about laying him to rest, another communication guru, a telecommunication guru, you probably knew this guy or heard of him. He's the brother of the vice president, Joy Howard Taylor, Jesse Howard from LTA. He passed away yesterday as well.
Hmm.
You know, I'm told he was not feeling well. And people who are doing all these things or who were doing all these things for our country, to see them die prematurely, you know, it hurts. It hurts the country. It hurts the people of the country as well. Shelton?
Yeah, and you're right, Ashford. I mean, I talk about it all the time. It's easy for some of the folks to who have money to jump on a plane and go to neighboring countries to seek medical attention. But if they were putting the resources right there in their own country, the Ministry of Health, working alongside with the government to ensure that there's, you know, better standards in place for hospitals and clinics, especially the public hospitals and clinics, providing the kinds of support needed, the logistics, the medicine, the equipment, and all those things. It will be because a healthy nation is required. You can't have citizens, all over the place sick, and the diagnoses are all over the place. You can go in for one thing and they tell you it's another thing, and they're treating that other thing. But then all of a sudden, the real thing that you're suffering from manifest and is late. You know, People continue to be misdiagnosed in Liberia because healthcare practitioners don't have the right kind of equipment. And sometimes it's all about guessing. And that's not healthy for the country. That's not healthy for the healthcare system. And so by
But
the time people get to know, it's late. And that's
but
why
I
you people who are there have to be careful because
and
you want to know your body.
I sometimes want to question the essence of the 14 military hospital. We were told that this hospital was coming in, and
And it
it
was
will
expected to be a state of the art.
consider the app that you will go there and get any treatment as you would in any part of the world. But it's not the case. If a government official gets ill and you have to spend $150,000 just to take them out of the country, then what's the essence of the 14 military hospital? Why don't you strengthen the JFK that was once powerful in the Republic of Liberia?
And even in the sub-region, that hospital was a referral hospital.
Thank you. Because I listened to this, our sister who is battling kidney problem now in Kenya, and one of the doctors that is attending to her said, we used to go to Liberia for research at
Absolutely.
JFK. Today, we are flying people out of the country. Today, JFK is being referred to as just for killing. Come on. Come
Yep.
on.
Unfortunately, I've heard other things about people go to the 14 military hospital. They're there for 2, 3 days. No one comes to see them, and in the scheme of being quarantined. Uh, but again, listen, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do as the people of Liberia. And until the people of Liberia know what is right for them, make the right choice, it's going to be a long haul. And that's what I'm saying. All the fanfare and all this election fever and the campaigning here and there, they need to vote their conscience. They need to go in that ballot a booth and know what is right for them. Because I don't think that the lifestyle now in the country, a few people has are rather have everything, and the rest of the people are in dire degradation, nothing happening in their lives, they're barely making it. I think it's sad. And this is the moment where they can make that transformation. It
Thank you,
begins
Chuck.
now into 2023.
Thank you. I think we have our special guest, the Honorable
Yes,
Alexander
here
Big,
in the back.
join us. Honorable Cummings, hello and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Ashford. Apologies for being late. I got caught in traffic, but very happy to be on the show. Very happy to be on the show.
Okay, now, Mr. Cummings, I want you to please give us your opening statement. We're honored to have you on Bridge Radio Africa for the first time. And it is a blessing that you've taken the time of the business schedule just to make time for us.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I guess the first thing I would like to say is that happy and honored to be on your show for the first time. Lots happening in our country. Uh, the most topical issue right now is the election and the referendum. But there's a bigger picture, though, in the sense that this election is uh, a chance for Liberian people to issue their verdict on the performance of this government. Um, this government has not performed at all by any measure, and these are factual measures. This is not opposition measure, ANC measure, electoral measure, but you look at all economic measures, you look at governance, you look at human development measures, index measures, our country is going the wrong direction. And so as we go to election on December 8th, it is our belief that Liberians will send a resounding message to this government that we want a different direction. Now, the key is that the election is free, fair, and transparent. And we have a lot of questions about the integrity of the elections. But we still want to encourage our people to go to the polls and send a message by voting for the CPP candidates in the upcoming senatorial elections. So great to be on the show. I look forward to the conversation and dialogue.
Now, Mr. Cummings, you had this person that would say, you know what, I can commit to 45 minutes to an hour. And based on that, I will spend quite a time on one-on-one. And then later on, I can bring in my co-host to do a little bit of follow-up. But let us just jump into this, Mr. Cummings. Some Liberians refer to the correlation of political parties as a sleeping giant. Others think the CPP is on life support, too laid back, too weak. How is the CPP doing? And what is the CPP doing in the midst of this ongoing national crisis?
Yeah, look, Liberians, some Liberians, I should say, define performance as how loud you speak, how much you talk. And yes, opposition parties should be speaking aloud, but that's not the only measure of success. The CPP has been very consistent in its positions, have issued many multiple statements, has gone to court on behalf of Liberian people, and have fielded 15 candidates that we think are winnable. These are all very tangible things that the CPP has done and is doing that we believe will yield results. I think you will also see in this remaining, 8, 10 days up to the elections, that will become now even more vocal around our positions, around what we think like Liberians should do to protect the integrity of the elections and to make sure that voices are heard on December 8th. So yes, there is a point of view that you just described in terms of how some people feel. But I know there are many in the CPP that believe we're doing the right things. We are going by the rule of law. We're trying to replace a government that we don't want to be exactly like. We're trying to offer an alternative. We're trying to offer different ways of doing things. We're trying to be responsible. And yes, we'll become much more vocal in the remaining days up to the elections.
Responsibility leads me into my next question. When is the CPP convention and what does the convention seek to achieve?
So the CPP does not have a convention scheduled. The CPP has a process in place for selecting senatorial candidates, representative candidates, for selecting its presidential candidates at some point in time. But there's no date scheduled for that at this point in time.
Now, in the process of selecting a presidential candidate of the CPP, it should be a easy task, don't you think?
Well, actually, when you say easy, what do you mean? I mean, there's a process. So the
Okay,
process is
I
that
know there's a
I can
process.
describe.
I know there's a
Mhm.
process, but
Right.
where leading to was in 2017 presidential elections, Joseph Boyka came second with over 26% of the total votes. You came at a distant 7%. Honorable Boyka served as vice president for Liberia. Obviously, he cannot be vice president again. So why not you come together and say, you know what, this man who obtained 26% of the total vote and work your way around him.
I'm not sure how you make that leap though. 2017, we're 3 years later. By the time we make the decision, it might be 4 or 5 years from the last election. So many things have changed. The dynamics in the country has changed. The country is in a very different state. Liberians might be in a different state. And so we should go through the process. That process is democratic. And if the outcome of the process is that Mr. Boykai, Mr. Ure, Mr. Cummings, Senator Kanga Lawrence, or somebody else should lead the CPP, let's follow the process, let's respect the process, and let the process run its course.
Speaking of Mr. Uri, Mr. Boyka, and Madam Kanka Lawrence, reliable report suggests that of the four political leaders of the four collaborating political parties, you and Mr. Uri are not on good terms, and your supporters are at each other's throat. What is going on?
Well, look, I think Mr. Ure and I are on better terms than perhaps is believed or perceived. But I remind people that you were trying to bring together four parties that competed against each other. That was always going to take time. The expectation that we'll all come together and then sing Kumbaya right away was completely unrealistic. It's going to take time for our supporters to gel, to come together. It's going to take time for us as leaders to work and come together. But we're trying to work hard as leaders to set the example to remind Liberians that this is about Liberia, not about us as individuals. And whatever difficulties or differences we have, we're working through them. And again, over time, I think people will see that we're ironing through our differences and we're trying to work together in the interest of the Liberian people.
Economic stagnation, declination, Liberian dollar shortage, etc. What do you think is responsible for this mess?
It's the ineptitude and the incompetence of the leadership of the country today. This is a government that came to power without any plans on how to grow the economy of our country. This is a government that is doing everything almost, it seems, deliberate to destroy the economy of Liberia, all the way from the governance of the country. Look, nobody's going to invest in a country that does not respect the rule of law, that does not follow its own constitution. Nobody's going to invest in a country where corruption is rampant. Investors will look at a country and say, if they don't know how to spend their own money, if they don't have a plan on how to grow the economy, um, if they don't follow their own constitution, why should I, legitimate investor, risk my resources, my money? Even a legitimate Liberian investor would wonder, why should he or she do that where there's no clear strategy for how to grow the economy, for creating jobs, where there's no investment in infrastructure, no investment in healthcare, no investment in education. None of these things are happening today. No clear plan on the way forward. So with all of these things happening, there is no surprise that companies are leaving or companies are shrinking, getting smaller. We're not attracting foreign direct investment because there's not a strategy to do so. Nobody's going to invest in a country where the government consistently violates its own constitution, impeached a sitting justice of the Supreme Court. The ECOWAS, we are a member of ECOWAS, as you know. The ECOWAS court just ruled that the impeachment of Justice Jana was illegal, was incorrect. So you have all of these examples, and so no wonder the economy of Liberia continues to slide, the currency continues to weaken. All the examples. $25 million was taken out of our national treasury for the mop-up exercise. No accounting of where that money went. 16 billion Liberian dollars, or the equivalent of 100 million US at the time, was printed to be infused in the Liberian economy. No tracking of exactly where that money is. And today in Liberia, there's a shortage of local currency. I mean, these are all examples, all factual examples of why things are going the wrong direction. If you ask most Liberians today, are you better off today than you were 2.5, 3 years ago when this government came to power? Most Liberians would say they're worse off today than they were almost 3 years ago when this government came to power. So the facts are there, the examples are there, and unfortunately, I'm not optimistic that things would turn around given the current leadership of the country.
What you describe this government as inept, and how will you further describe this government? Disappointing, an embarrassment, or why? If
Well,
so, why should
I would certainly say an embarrassment, not a surprise, at least not to me. What has happened is, I think what many of us expected, unfortunately, but very embarrassing. If you look at the sub-region, where we share the same environment, the same economy in the ECOWAS country, Monetary Union, all of our neighboring countries are doing better. From an economic perspective, in terms of GDP growth per capita, Sierra Leone is doing better than Liberia. Guinea is doing better than Liberia. Ivory Coast is doing better than Liberia. Certainly, when you get to Ghana and beyond, they're doing much better than we are. So the excuse about the world economy, et cetera. Yes, there are challenges globally, but let's compare performance, us versus our neighboring countries, where we share the Mana River Union, the Mana River, the water, we drink from the same water, right? They are performing better than we are. So yes, embarrassing. With the exception of maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ashford, I'm not sure if any of our neighboring presidents have visited Liberia. I think the Sierra Leonean president came to speak to the university students, I think. And I may be wrong, so you will correct me if I am, or Fokino might correct me.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
What,
That took place.
what does that say when we have a president who's been president for almost 3 years and none of his colleagues have come to visit him? He has not been able to meet the president of the United States. So I'm just reinforcing your point that yes, embarrassment is one of the words that we use in addition to inept and incompetent.
one or two more questions, and then I will go to my colleague. Now, with your international connection, Mr. Cummings, have you considered requesting sanctions on Liberia for any illegal acts or crimes by the government, if any?
Well, I have not actively done that, but I do think it's something we should consider. So you raise a good point, and it's not about necessarily my international connections, Ashford. It's about what's happening to this country and the acts of this government. This passport scandal was a real live example. And as you know, the United States government sanctioned the former passport director for that act. So beyond me personally and my international connections, it is something we should consider, that encouraging the United States and other countries to sanction individuals, not the Liberian people, because God knows our people are struggling anyway. They're suffering. And I would not want to advocate for anything that would bring additional suffering on the Liberian people. I want to make that very clear, because the institution will try to spin this. We will do nothing, we will raise no act, take no action that will bring any additional hardship on Liberian people. But bringing individual sanctions on people in this government for their misbehavior, for their corruption, yes, it's something we should consider.
You have traveled the entire country, and you are dealing directly with the voters in other parts of the country. Now, I'm told you just got back to the capital yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Now, do you believe, Mr. Cummings, that the December 8th elections will be free, fair, and transparent? What happens if there's a fraud?
So I do not believe, given everything we know, that the election will be free, fair, and transparent.
And what's
Uh,
that?
because I'll give you all kinds of facts why, Ashford. One is the voter roll. We know the voter roll is corrupt. We know the Supreme Court asks the National Elections Commission to clean up the voter roll. That has not happened. We know subsequent to that, that the ECOWAS sent a team, and in their recommendations, they said that the voter roll was not clean and needed to be clean. We know that hasn't happened. We know a joint resolution was passed by the National Legislature, signed by the President of Liberia, which made it law that the next should clean up the voter roll. We know that has not happened. We know the President requested another technical team to come to Liberia to look at the voter roll. We've seen no report from them. We know the laws of Liberia says that the voter roll should be made available 30 days prior to the election. That has not happened at this point in time. So the list goes on and on. We know around this referendum. Uh, as you know, we went to court on the referendum. The Supreme Court opined that it was currently proceeding. The referendum was not being done constitutionally appropriately. So for all of these reasons, we got very serious suspicions whether the government intends to conduct free, fair elections. But let me say to this government, though, that they should not take the Liberian people for granted. They should not assume because we're being responsible, because we're using the judicial process, that they can just run roughshod over Liberian people. I do not believe Liberian people will stand for that.
What does that mean? It is a threat that you do something?
I don't believe you interpret my words as you or your listening audience deem appropriate. I do not believe, and the government should not assume for any 1 minute that we will let this election be stolen, that Liberian will allow election to be stolen. This, I'm pretty confident the Liberian will not accept.
Now, many CC partisans or CPP partisans are blaming you for the political sabotage. But One Way, who lost the CPP primary and decided to contest as an independent in Nima County, you should have stopped this from happening, Honorable Cummings. Now, some are saying you are struggling with the leadership of the CPP. How do you respond?
So I don't understand your point of view or how it is suggested I should stop a process that we had agreed to. You see, this is what we're trying to offer, a different way of doing things. I keep reminding people that you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And unfortunately, many people want us to continue the same bad habits, keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and somehow the thing Liberia will change. I don't subscribe to that. My success has been based on doing things the right way and getting therefore different and better results. And when things don't work one way, you don't keep doing the same thing. You do things differently. So I stand by all of my decisions. I stand by the candidates the CPP now have in the race. Yes, people have a different point of view, and they're entitled to that. If there's any belief that you will get 100% of folks believing in you and what you're trying to do, you're setting up yourself for massive disappointment. So we're happy with the progress the CPP has made. And again, the progress we made, we stand by it. We stand by our decisions, and we know the CPP is moving forward in the right direction.
Now, it also appears that there's a fragmentation within the CPP. Representative Yeka Koluba, former Vice President VP Boycott, you and few others have not seen campaigning with Darius DeLong. If that's the case, what is happening in there?
There is no fragmentation at all. Again, I don't know where these stories or these myths or these leaps in logic begin. In fact, we were just meeting with Darius just now. That's why I'm late for this conversation. I got caught in traffic where myself, VP Boykai, Mr. Yuri, Musa Ability representing Yumley, because Yumley is in Grand Plaza. Just had a conversation with Dylan on the progress of his campaign, the fact that this coming week we'll be seeing campaign with him. But I can't be in Monserrate and be in the Southeast at the same time. I can't be in Monserrate and be in Cape Mount at the same time. Now, maybe whoever making these assertions know a way where I can be transported from one point to the other instantaneously. I don't know the physics of how that works, but we are very supportive of Darius. We believe Darius will win this election in Monserrate. The only way Darius doesn't win is this government cheats. And as I mentioned earlier, they should not take for granted that the Liberian people or the CPP or the opposition will accept anything other than victory for Darius. As I travel around Monserrate County, as I travel around the country, it is very clear that in the case of Darius, because that's who you asked about, that he will win this election on December. No doubt in my mind. And it will be overwhelming, by the way. And we're all very supportive of Darius' candidacy. And again, I don't know where this noise starts about, we're not supporting him or whatever. That is completely untrue. Completely untrue.
Let me bring in Volcano to do a little bit of follow-up and perhaps ask additional questions. Shelton?
So, Mr. Cummings, I understand your position regarding the Liberian people resolve and want to see change. And this can be done through the ballot box. But you also point fingers to the election, in the process, and it's not fair. So there is a potential for things not to go the way as anticipated. However, this government has done so much to the people of Liberia, and not much has been done. You talked about the $25 million. You talk about the $16 billion. You talk about some of the things that, have gone just ordinary. What make you think that if this election was rigged and, CDC took it, what make you think it's going to be different? Do you think they take the Liberian people seriously?
Yeah, look, at some point you can push people or an individual. It applies either way. You can push them only so far. And at some point they'll react. And I believe, and I hope this government doesn't misjudge where Liberian people are. But I think they're at a breaking point where if pushed anymore, they'll snap. Now, what that means is open to anybody's interpretation. But you can only push a person. You can only push an individual. The Kenny Rogers song, Coward of the County. I don't know if you're familiar with the lyrics for Kenny.
Oh, I know the song.
Yeah. So at some point, he was pushed and he snapped. And I think the Liberian people are pretty close to that point. And I'm thinking around the country in terms of our candidates, but Monserrate, where, as you know, there's almost 40% of the electorate is in this county. We know by all of our formal and informal polling that Darius will win Monserrate County overwhelmingly, not even close, by the way. And if they try anything else, I think, again, for people who don't know that song, go listen, go download Coward of the County, and I think Liberians are at that point.
So another question here to follow up, there's always strength in numbers, and that's why probably you political parties came together to form what is currently called the CCP. Do you think that you are strong enough? I mean, irrespective of the coming together, you're strong enough to hold this government foot to the fire?
I think we're building that strength to do that. Volcano, again, I just remind all of us that you had 4 parties that were competing and competed vociferously in 2017, right? You also have the way we've defined the CPP is a collaboration of independent parties. So you still have an independent UP, they just had, elections, elected new officers. You have an independent Liberia Party. They are going to special elections after this election in December. You have the ALP, you have the ANC, collaborating on things of common interest to the country. We're making progress. These things don't change quickly. They don't happen overnight. First there was a prediction that we will never come to an agreement. Well, we developed the framework agreement. Then there was a prediction we'll never agree on senatorial candidates. We did. Not easy. We lost some people along the way. But if we had all fielded candidates, there would have been 60 people running, 15 from each party. We were able to put a process in place that number is 15. So 45 people were quote unquote disenfranchised, if that's the right word, right? That is progress. That doesn't happen without some pain. So we're working together. We're building the momentum. There have been attempts to divide us, but so far we're holding together. And I think we're progressively building momentum to hold this government's feet to the fire. And so I'm confident and optimistic we'll get there. But these things take time. You got to look at the political culture in the country, right? People, even who represent existing parties, they get to the legislature and they do what they want. We're trying to change that. We had all of our candidates sign a contract that that they will abide by our direction and rules and regulations, etc. I think most of them will, but some of them will go rogue because it's human nature and it's life. So we're making progress. We go in the right direction. These things take time because you're trying to change the whole political culture, and that doesn't happen quickly or overnight.
Let me ask one more question before Ashford come in quick. So we're on a stretch now heading into 2023. We have 4 collaborating parties. Would there be room for more? Because there's a tendency for everyone wanting to be president. And you saw how our elections always, when there's presidential elections, so many people come, to the limelight to want to run. But if you guys will be open, will you be receiving more political parties that may want to join in to increase the strength? Or you're comfortable where you are because too many political parties will only make it worse?
No, we're open to more political parties becoming a part of the CPP. The framework agreements provides for how that process works in terms of others joining, but we're definitely open to it. As you know, Volcano, politics is a game of numbers. And the more people we can get, our chances are increased. I also believe that that's how we should govern. We should govern inclusively because we're going to have to make some very tough calls. We have to make some very difficult choices. We will not be able to do everything. And we shouldn't promise that people will do everything, right? But to make those calls, we want to have many people have a say. So then when we decide to do it, they can all go back to their constituencies and explain why we're doing X and not Y. The simple example I like to use, and it's more illustrative. We need to fix the road, the coastal highway, the road to the southeast, but we also need to complete the road from Ganta to the southeast as well, right? But we can't do both at the same time. We don't have the resources and money. We got to pick one or the other. So whichever one we pick, we got to go back and explain to the other folks why we're picking one direction and not the other. And so the more people in that debate that makes the decision that says, okay, let's finish the Ganta Harper piece before we do the coastal piece, then the folks from the coast who were part of that discussion who understand why can go back to the folks and explain. And this is how we need to govern to making these tough choices, these trade-offs, if you will, because to try to do it all, we'll do nothing well. We'll sub-optimize everything, and we'll do small. Nobody will feel the impact. And we need to show big changes in the various sectors, and we have to make choices. And so we're open. Long answer to your question, Volcano. Open to others joining. Again, it will be difficult, it will be challenging, but yes, we're open to that because the bigger the coalition, the better our chances of unseating this government.
I was thinking that it would create a lot of settling, because people will want to take for tag. So the more, if everyone comes with a mindset of wanting to be president, then who gonna ready to take the gavel?
But that's why we have a process that that defines how that selection is made. And whoever joins us will need to agree to follow that process. And then we all live with the outcome of the process. So there should be no fear. We should not fear competition, right? Let others come. Let them understand what the selection process is. They will, before they join, they will agree to follow the process. And once they agree to follow the process, then we all live with the outcome of the process. But there should be no fear of competition.
Come here, Ashford. Ashford, your mic is off.
I know Honorable Cummings, you came for 1 hour, but with a little bit of delay, I think.
No, we started late. We started late, Ashford. So we'll do the hour. So that means we'll go till 6:20, 6:25, whatever. Yeah.
So want to open up the telephone lines for those who perhaps have questions for you, and all we caution our callers or participants to respect the platform, respect the guests. You can be professional, you can disagree, but please be respectful of our platform and our guests. Before the guests start the call, honorable comments, high crimes, including mysterious deaths, the missing of young men for alleged ritualistic purposes, armed robberies, burglaries on the rise. Where is the CPP?
Again, the CPP issued a very strong statement around the deaths of these four young professional Liberians working for the Internal Auditing Agency, for LRA, etc. Very strong statement. I visited the widow of one of the deceased. I mean, it breaks your heart. Young family, young widow, young daughters. The report recently issued by the Ministry of Justice, I mean, it's laughable. It's a joke. And so, yeah, we're very, very disgusted. But another example of what's wrong with this government and our country. Another example of why, people are not investing in Liberia when these kinds of things happen, and it's unexplained. Some people will say, well, in Liberia, nobody ever dies of natural causes. Well, the coincidence is just too strong. That 4 people, employees, doing auditing, investigating, and within, I think it was an 8-day period or some very close period, lose their lives. And that's too much coincidence. I mean, it's just too suspicious. And again, we were very strong in issuing a statement to that effect.
Okay, let us take our first caller from New Jersey, the 609 number. Please tell us your name.
Hey, my name is Emmanuel Kule. I'm calling from the United States, presiding North Dakota.
You're live on the radio. Go ahead and ask your question or make a point, please.
I have a question for the Honorable Minister, but I don't know if I'm allowed to ask more than one question. Then I have a 2 or 3 questions for him. It reads as follows. My first question, I heard Mr. Cummings, being the chairperson of the CPP, saying, when you're asking a question about the election being transparent and accountable, he said he's not sure and outlining the basic fact. They requested from the Supreme Court for the voter roll to be clean. That was not done. ECOWAS came in with some recommendations that were not done. The government called on them that they were going to stay for some international people. They had not get that resolved. My question now, Mr. Cummings, you have all these happening right now with the election. The CPP being the more powerful political opposition party in the country, and you agree to go to election. How will you challenge any irregularity or any misappliance into the election when you have all these problems and considering that and go to election? Question 1. Question 2, the other day that one day were on the media and then he were making a point that he run an independent and he made this statement He heard people talking about Alexander Cummings, why Alexander Cummings allowed him to go to election, to run an independent candidate. He wanted to tell us this. He, Muna Fahad, and several other people, he named them. He said, they are the one made Alexander Cummings. And where people coming from and telling him why Alexander Cummings allowed him to run, how did he reconcile that statement?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Ashford, I can't hear
The
you.
mic is off, Ashford.
Is my mic still off?
It's good now.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cummings.
Sure. So let me thank Emmanuel for his question, and I will take the last one first and then the first one. So I didn't hear Ta Wongbe's comment. So you may have misinterpreted or not. I'm not saying you have, but I find it difficult to react to a comment that I've not heard directly. If Ta indeed said that, I would say disappointing that he did. But again, I would want to hear exactly verbatim whatever comment he made. Of course, any politician gets from point A to point B based on several factors. One, who he is, what he or she does, the kind of leadership they provide, that inspires people to support them. And of course, the more people that support you, the more successful you are. So was Ta supportive of me? Yes. Was Mona Fahad supportive of me? Yes. Were they the only ones supportive of me? No, there were many more. So Ta said he made me, boy, I wonder if Ta would really have said that. So again, I haven't heard the comment directly from Ta, so I don't think I should say too much more about that. With regards to the election, look, there's several options here. One is you can, quote unquote, boycott an election because you don't think it'll be free, fair, and transparent. We've decided we're not going to do that because in some ways it's perhaps what the CDC would like to see us do. And instead, we decided to participate. All of our objections are on the record. We have gone to court with some of those objections. We're going to be very vigorous in our poll watching to try to ensure minimization of, potentially alleged fraud and cheating. And then, as I said earlier, this government should not take the Liberian people for granted with regards to the reaction if this election is fraudulent. You can push a group of people, an individual, only so far. And I think maybe at that point where they may push the Liberian people too far, and then we'll see what the consequences of that might be.
Okay, we want to go back to the telephone line. We have a 443 number. The last four digits of your number, 5139. Please tell us your name.
Thank you for bringing me on, Ashford. My name is Thomas Ashman, calling from Baltimore. My question to Honorable Cummings is, you told this platform that there's a process that you will follow during the election. But there was a mechanism put in place before the NIMBA senatorial election, and one of the candidates did not follow the mechanism, which is if somebody is elected, should go independent. It's not independent. We have not heard anything from you regarding that. Second question is, are you willing for the TRC to be implemented? That I need yes and no, yes or no answer from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the NIMA process, again, people make assertions or make statements as if it's a fact. And the statement the caller made was the NIMA process was free and fair, and one person didn't do it, whatever. If you read the statement we issued after the NIMA process, it will be clear to you why we made the decision that we made. And so I will encourage the caller to go back and read the statement. But summarizing it, what we said was there was violence that occurred at the process. There were some irregularities at the process, but in the interest we're very declarative about that but in the interest of collaboration, in the interest of the CPP, we allowed one of the candidates to go forward. So even though that process was flawed, we allowed the outcome of the process to proceed, if you will. But it's very important, and the premise was that there were a lot of irregularities of that process, and that statement was made very clear when we made the decision we made. With regard to the TRC process, again, he would like a yes or no. I'm not prepared to give him a yes or no answer. This is the answer I will say to him and to all your listeners on this platform. I believe, and I'm speaking on behalf of Alexander Cummings and of the ANC, because as a CPP, we have not had this discussion, and that's our collective view. We want to make that very clear. But I believe the Liberian people deserve justice. Justice for economic and for war crimes. I think we now have to define how that justice is delivered. Some people believe it should be the TRC report. I'm not sure how many Liberians have actually read that report in detail, including the caller. Maybe he has. I don't know. Some people believe we should do the similar process that was done in Freetown, in Sierra Leone. Some people believe we should send people to the Hague. My point is we need justice, and as Liberians, we should define what that process is so that we can get rid of this era of impunity. And so that's the answer to my question regarding quote unquote the TRC report.
Okay, we want to go to this telephone number. The area code is 952, the last 4 digits, 1196. Please tell us your name.
My name is Patricia. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Hey, Pat, how you doing? You live on the radio. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Garley. My question for the honorable man, Mr. Kobe. I learned that he is part of the opposition, which is true. And I want to know what he's for Daryl Dillon's running for re-election. If he's part of Daryl Dillon and he's supporting Daryl Dillon, when will he step out to join his Daryl Dillon campaign? Because all this time we have not seen any one of them out there in collaboration with Mr. Dillon to run campaign, and this election is like less than 50 days. So how are you supporting and Daryl Dillon towards this victory?
Thank you. Okay, I want to take one more call and go back to Mr. Cummings. It's a 240 number. Tell us your name.
Yes. Hi, Ashford. How are you today?
Good. Too blessed to be stressed. Go ahead and ask a question, please.
Great. Okay. I don't think my name is important at this moment, but I have 3 questions from Mr. Cummings.
Please make it 2.
All right. Mr. Cummings, do you believe in the CPP? It's just yes or no.
Just complete your question and he'll respond, please.
Okay. So, all right. Okay. So the second question would be, is there any rule that governs the CPP in regards of candidacy? Like, you're going to select a senatorial candidate? Is there any rule? Whether for a president, is there any rule?
Sorry, I don't understand the second question. Sorry.
Say that again.
The second question?
Yes.
Is there any rule that governs the CPP when it comes to selecting a candidate?
Thank you. Is there any rule that governs the CPP in getting the candidate prepared to be on a ticket or something like that? That's what the question is.
So he said he's selecting the candidate, but right. I thought Mr. Cummings already talked about that earlier. So
okay. So on the question of Darius, I think it was Patricia. Patricia, we support Darius 100%. We support him in multiple ways. There was an event, again, I don't know, people maybe know everything that happens everywhere in the country. There was a football game that was held on Darius' behalf a few weeks ago. I attended, I participated, I spoke. Darius and I took pictures together at that event. Darius and I went to see Pompon, the guy who burned himself. We went together to see him. I support Darius financially. As I said, we just came from a meeting with Darius. So I don't know where this myth about not supporting Darius has come from. It is untrue. I also mentioned earlier that there's only one of me. I can only be so many players at any point in time. We have 14 other candidates running in this election that we're trying to support, that we're trying to be present to raise their hands up. And as you know, I just came from the Southeast, but I've been to other parts of the country supporting counted for the endorsement of Prince Moi. The list goes on. And this coming week, we'll be out on the campaign trail with Darius as well. So no issues with Darius. The question is, do I believe in the CPP? The answer is yes. I wouldn't be in the CPP. I wouldn't be chairing it if I didn't believe in the CPP. And then, as Volcano said, I think we answered the question on this. That's the selection process. There was one for the senatorial process. There is one for the representative process, which is similar, and there's a process for selecting the standard bearer of the CPP.
Okay. We have a few more minutes left. I want to go back to the telephone line. We have 402. This is telephone. It's the area code 5398. Please tell us your name.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Edwin Sopite, and I join you from the city of Liberia.
You're live on the radio. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yeah. My question to the honorable man in studio, Honorable Cummings. What is what does the CPP stand, or you as an individual or a political figure stand on the issue of the referendum as we go to election? Because we are, for example, CPP or a collaborating party to members to dialogue the law. We talking to our people back home to vote wisely and in all the 15 counties. And so we are a little bit confused on the referendum. Where do you stand, or where does CPP stand on the referendum?
Thank you.
We tell our people?
Thank you. Let us take the second call up and go back to Mr. Cummings. You have it's a 609 number. Sir, hello. So the man.
Yes.
Please listen to the phone and not the receiver because there's a little delay. Okay. Tell us your name and where did you join us from tonight?
Are you referring to the 6619 number?
609 number. Yes, sir.
Yes. This is J. Victor Nangwe. I'm calling from New Jersey, Atlantic City.
Welcome to the show, sir. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Cummings. How are you?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. I have two questions. My first question is, why is it, do you think, with all the organization or the effort you put on the ground, why are you not gaining traction? That's my first question. Why is it you think you're not gaining traction? Two, I am concerned with what one of the callers talked about with the situation in Nimba, involving, I think, the two candidates that the CPP tried to put up, Edith Gongo, I believe, and that one way. Now, it seems to us that the CPP was, well, it woefully handled that situation. And I am concerned if a situation as minor as a fracas in a single county cannot be handled as appropriately as it should have been, how do you think when you gain state power and you have to deal with issues of much greater magnitude, how do you think the people will fit?
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Tom has caught up with us, so we'll take one more question. We'll conclude with Mr. Cummings and call this a night. So let us take this last call up. It's a 216 number. Tell us your name, please.
Yeah, hello. My name is Ishmael Kone. I'm for Tunisia.
You're live on the radio. Go ahead and ask the question, please.
Yeah, actually, I just want to actually make a recommendation to Mr. Cummings. You know, actually, uh, I am let me just say, because I'm not in the country now, but I am a fan of, let me just say, a partisan. I love the collaboration party, and actually most of the candidates they put out, I really admire the candidate that Abraham Dallas did. But my recommendation to Kumi is that, so look at the ruling party, you look at most of these guys in the ruling party, they are going out and, you know, talking to the people to vote that candidate. But the CCP, we are only seeing few, and I don't want my like advice and recommendation to Mr. Kumi is that we shouldn't be too confident, we shouldn't be too, you know, confident that we will win the election, or we should do the work, on the ground. Let's look at what the other people are doing. Mr. Kumi shouldn't be too like, you know, too confidence. Like you people gotta go out, you people gotta love it, keep talking. Don't have the confidence that we can sit there. We should, you know, do all the works, try to work around to help, especially our senator in Montserrat County, Mr. Tazi. Because all the time, when they we can see around, we cannot see Mr. Cummings or other people lobbying, doing other stuff. So it seems very, you know,
My
I
brother,
thought always Mr. Cummings, they should put things together
my
to help
brother,
this guy.
my brother,
Yeah, so that we can win Montserrat County. Because
thank you so much. You know, sometimes why you don't know is older than you. For me to even get Mr. Cummings or how he was out there in the southeast. So he's not just sitting in Monrovia. And he said earlier he can't be in two places at the same time. So he's not just sitting down and merry making, he's working as well. But thanks for calling, okay? Back to Mr. Cummings.
Yeah, thank you. So, not to repeat what you just said, Ashford, but we're not overconfident. We're working hard, even with the case of Darius. But we know our official, unofficial polling. We know he has momentum, and we believe that free, fair, transparent election, Darius will win. But even this coming week, we'll be out there on the campaign trail supporting Darius, but not just Darius. The other candidates, we're going to go to the western part of the country to do some campaigning. So we're going to use this next weekend to support all our candidates, including Darius. So we're taking nothing for granted. On the, I think it was Victor Nagbe. The good news is that Victor is only one voter in the sense that he makes some creepy statements that I don't know what the basis. If he has the facts, if he has any empirical evidence to support the statement says I'm not gaining traction despite all the work we're doing. That is so far from the truth. We're getting a lot of traction. I would say the ANC is still the fastest growing party in the country. Not just in Montserrat, although we're doing very well in Montserrat. So yeah, we believe we're getting a lot of traction. The party is getting a lot of traction. And there's a lot of momentum. And then on the NIMA issue, look, I think we addressed it. Again, he has a point of view of one, and he's entitled to his point of view, so that's okay. But we addressed it appropriately, and the overwhelming feedback I received was positive around how we settled what was a very difficult, contentious issue in NIMA. I remind him and others that we went through a process where we selected 14 senators, no real challenges. We have one challenge. That's a pretty good batting average for anybody, for any leader. When out of 15, I mentioned, you know, there were potentially 60 people had interest. We ended up with 15, and you have one challenging situation. Very proud of how that was managed. And there was a question from, I think, Edwin on the referendum. The CPP has no issues with the referendum per se. We have an issue with the constitutionality of the process that is being followed to execute the referendum. We do not believe there was enough voter education that took place. I think that's very clear. We believe that trying to lump the 8 um, uh, resolutions into 3 is not consistent with the Constitution of Liberia, and the Supreme Court actually said that. The NEC has no authority on its own to force this thing through. So our issue is around the constitutionality. See, we cannot have a country and a government that does not follow the rule of law. That's a bad precedent, bad example to set. Because we accept it now, that means we accept it subsequently. And so we're very clear, we're very persistent. We went to court on this issue, and our point of view is clear. The constitutional process for executing this resolution has been violated. So no issues per se with the individual items there, but this process, and we should not accept this process. If we want to do things right, what is not done right should not be done at all, right? And this process is not being done right. And that is our push, and that is our objection to this process.
Well, Shut, time has caught up with us. And then the one question for Mr. Cummings, and then he can give us his closing statement. I want to say a big thank you.
Yeah. I was contemplating this question so badly, Mr. Cummings. You might be running as president in 2023. If you were to win, what is that burning thing you're going to do for Liberia from get-go? What is that one significant thing that you're going to do for that country that no other president has done, or every other president has messed around with and has never done it well? What would it be?
Boy, it's tough to pick one because there's so many things volcano.
All right, then let's do the top 5.
Top 5 is much better. Thank you.
Okay.
So the most important priority, I think, is around job creation, and for me, that means growing the agricultural sector. Yeah, we gotta create jobs. We gotta invest in agriculture to do that, and invest in the private sector. Second priority for me is all around infrastructure. Infrastructure meaning electricity, first, meaning roads, second, and meaning telecommunications. You know, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about job creation, all of these things that depend on infrastructure. And electricity is the backbone of that. So agriculture can help create jobs, to feed ourselves, infrastructure, then health. If people are not well, they're not healthy, you cannot be productive. Kids cannot go to school. They can't go to work. So healthcare sector would be a priority for us. Education will be another priority for us. And something not many people talk about it, and it ties to job creation as well. Volcano. It's around developing tourism in Liberia. Tourism is a way you can create jobs quickly because, like it or not, many of our people are not skilled yet. Many of our people are not educated yet. Tourism is a service-oriented, easier to train people, to get them ready. And if you focus on ecotourism, people don't expect the infrastructure because they expect to rough it out. And it's another way we can create jobs because job creation is a major part. We have so many young people who are unemployed, who are underemployed, who are vulnerably employed. And if we can focus on agriculture, tourism, and then these other fundamental things that underlie that infrastructure, healthcare, education, then you begin to move the country forward. So thank you for that. But Ashford, Volcano, thanks for the interaction. Thanks for the very good questions. Thanks to your listening audience as well. Everybody should know that we're committed to this country, to our people. We're prepared to make the sacrifices required. We make no apologies for holding this government accountable. For me, for us, it's not personal. Got nothing personal against anybody in the government today. We just want them to do the right things for Liberian people. We just want to hold them accountable.
Well, Mr. Cummings, just so you know, this is a platform. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be the last time. We're open to the opposition. We're also open to the ruling establishment. And that's what we call Bridge Radio Africa. We build bridges and we don't burn them. So as long as you're Liberian and in the interest of Liberia, this is where you want to be.
Absolutely. And you should listen to all voices, by the way. And then absolutely you should do that. And again, my point is we will make no apologies about holding people accountable to do the right things for Liberian people. And so again, I thank you for the opportunity. I'm sure, as you said, this will not be my last time. We'll come back and have future interactions with you and Volcano. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Cummings.
much, Honorable. It was good conversation.
Thank you.
Shelton, what a night.
Good one. Yes, I think he covered a lot of, you know, burning issues in the country. Um, but again, my question here is how solid will the CCP be between now to 2023? Because we're just gone 3 years, we got 3 more long years to go,
hmm
and where the economy is, the state of security, and all of that. Is it going to degenerate for the worse, or is it going to improve? And are
Well,
they contemplating, how to make improvements?
the good thing is this is 2020, and we have 2023 still ahead of us. So you can, I mean, listen, people came from all types of different breeds. So you don't expect them to come hit the ground running together, and things should be all law and gospel. So you will have the early disagreements, and then later on they will start talking of the
Excuse.
boat, and then the next thing you know, they put themselves together. So it is okay for them to go through what they're going through now so they can learn each other. By the end of the day, there are a lot of things that they are doing behind closed that we don't know about. You just had Mr. Cummings said to you that he was invited the other day to a rally of Dar es Salaam. He's in communication with Mr. Urid and Mr. Boycott, and they have another meeting pending. So these people are doing things that most of us don't even know about. Sometimes they don't have to go public, but they are working behind the scenes.
Yeah, granted. But working behind the scene, all that all that work behind the scene has to come to the public. It has to have an impact, you know, and that's what we're hoping for. Again, it's a long haul. Liberia is in a space and time uh, very unprecedented. We've never seen this before. We were all hopeful. Not to say that some people don't believe that what is happening in Liberia is great. The country is thriving, and everything looks good. But others who feel the pinch, they know what they're going through. So it's a two-way street. We can't just say all is bad, because some people who are you know tied to the ruling class will not see it that way.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
and that's the fact. Others would say, I mean, some of them are so gullible to the point where they would tell you, say, listen, I know uh, we are facing some type of challenges, but I just love the man, so I will continue to support the man. And these are the kind of things that people say. So when they say these kind of things, then listen, this country will move forward. This country will be great again, and all what we're going through will one day be history.
You
We have
know.
some of the most powerful leaders in this country, like the likes of Samuel Doe, the Charles Taylor. At the end of the day, where are they today?
Well,
You know,
absolutely. Everything comes to an end. But what bothers me, the two burning things here, and I hope again President Weah can look back. Two things. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came to power. She said corruption was going to be her public enemy number one. She failed miserably with corruption to the
right?
point that she herself accepted blame. Okay, Liberian people are always forgiving people. She walked away scot free with all that could have happened for Liberia. Made most of her cronies and best friends and kids, around the circle, filthy rich, including her very own children. President Weah makes his inaugural address and says that Liberians will not be spectators in their own country. Today, you went to the airport. How many Liberian businesses in the airport to begin with?
Mm.
You know, um, so why people continue to play the game? And then he talked about corruption as well. But look around you. I know for a fact there's certain people who came in the last 3 years to power with nothing. Today, they are sitting pretty within 3 years.
Man, we are earning $100 a month in their entire life, and today they think uh they are all Lord and gospel with the short-term successes, and we've seen this happen before. There are people who were in previous governments who end up becoming Beckett's until they went to their graves. So I mean, it's just gonna be.
And that's why I asked Mr. Cummings the question. What is the burning thing so much that he gonna make a difference? Because we've heard these stories time immemorial. And I don't say that he doesn't mean good for the country, but there's a potential Cummings could become president tomorrow, and his lieutenants around him could make a mess. And it always begins with the lieutenants. The president doesn't come to power and say, "Oh yes, I'm going to do all blah 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 blah." It starts with the lieutenants. When they start to go contrary, and you don't take action, then it creates that disease. Unfortunately, that's what happened time immemorial.
And
Government to government to government.
and I will be very shocked uh, if the table turns that the opposition gets into power and start to do well for the country. Because the way I see this country is like, give us the opportunity. We come, we enrich ourselves, we take care of our close friends and family members to help with the rest of the people. This is how things have been for the longest, and we continue to see these kinds of things. Today is George Weah. When George Weah exits, perhaps if Cummings, Ure, Yomli Kangat, or Boyka come in, listen, I don't believe that anything will change. I just don't believe that anything will change. This is just a curse on our country.
And
Because
you're right. You're right. After seeing the same thing over and over, we're not changing the wine. We're only changing the bottle.
thank
It's the
you.
same wine that we continue to. But yeah, what bothers me? The Liberian people are so forgiving to the point that it's detrimental to the well-being. There are certain people in our country who are now in political spaces, in positions that shouldn't even be.
I'm telling you.
But they consciously go to the polls and elect those very people who waged wars on them, who
Mm.
supported warring factions, who owned warring factions. What type of people are these? Ashford, what type of people are these?
Again, it comes from the gullibility of the Liberian people themselves.
So
I,
why you think
I
I
went out.
heard I may be wrong. I heard this and I may be wrong. Accordingly, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said Liberian people are not worth dying for.
Aha. So what that's supposed to mean to you, Sheldon? If she says
That
that,
tells you that listen, I'm coming to get what I want. I'm coming, I don't care about them. I don't
and this
care.
this is a woman who led the country for 12 years. Before
Yeah,
then, she supported
yeah,
the
that's what I heard from close circle. She made that statement that Liberian people are not worth dying for.
and listening to folks today when I went out to conduct polls, you will listen to people tell you that I want to support Thomas Fowler because the man is popular. Is that all? Yes, I just want to support him because he's popular. That's all I want to support him for. Listen to this kind of people.
But it was the same premise that it was the same premise that they had for President Weah. He was a popular man.
Already.
So
So
they don't. So I don't think they look at substance. They don't look
and
at competence. They don't look at credibility. They don't
and
look at integrity.
look where the
They don't look
popularity
at
has
experience.
exactly. And look where we are today. Look, Shelton, it sickens me to see this country that is 173 years old with no electricity. You know, my man, it's completely dark, man. In this day and age, we don't have light, and even the government officials themselves They come on a local radio station and say one of our challenges is electricity.
But the paradox here, Ashford, the paradox here is that Liberia has gotten so much money in these last, less than 20 years, since Ellen came to power in 2005, I believe, to now 2020. The monies that have gone through Liberia, who have revamped our electricity
Of course.
long ago, and the country will have been industrialized again. So Liberia cannot be, a place to make improvements if electricity remains an issue. The country will never thrive. The country will not go forward. So building roads, great. But when the roads are in the dark, who's gonna ply them? Who gonna ride on those roads at night?
Thank you.
When everywhere is jet black dark. So all of those things are important, but yes, water, healthcare, electricity can turn Liberia around again. And then some of the companies that will come will have to build roads.
I did listen to the finance minister today on one of the local radio stations, and they have already started planning poles to bring some type of electricity from the Ivory Coast, and kilowatt per hour would drop from 50 cents to at least 13 to 14 cents. When that is done, then folks who want to get into manufacturing, those who want to get into other industrialized businesses will come and begin to invest, because you can't do anything without electricity. So that was one of the things he said today that they are aggressively working on. But Shelton, with that said, hey, I'm going to retire tonight. It's Friday night, but listen, Liberia that we know, right? On a Friday night, look at 6:35. I'm just gonna get undressed and go to sleep, because listen, not that people are after you or something, but listen,
no, you just got to find where to go.
Exactly. You have to.
And where you gonna be safe?
Friends that you know for over a year will tell you, say, man, watch what you eat, watch what you drink, and know where to hang out. That alone should be self-sufficient for you to carry yourself. But other than that, my man, it has been very peaceful. About 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm at home, and I'm eating the best of food and everything. And God is good today. I had some palm butter with fufu on one end. Then I had collard greens, and stuff like that. Tomorrow is Saturday.
Yeah. I saw you on that video, the one with that you went for your road project. And
oh yeah. Oh
my
man,
my man, you look beautiful.
What I bro do for you, brother. So if I return to the US, I have to aggressively get back in the gym, because in one of the secrets is that, Shelton, I don't give up my old clothing, because that's one of the motivations. I have to fit them. So I have to work aggressively to get back in shape, to fit my clothing again, because I'm clothing are very expensive, and I don't like to wear cheap clothing. So you already know. Okay, my brother. Then we call it a night.
Man, it was good, man. It was good. So we'll catch up. I guess we'll catch up on Monday then.
That's right. Monday we're going to have something interesting. Tuesday, by Wednesday we're hoping to have the former vice president in studio. So we're working on that.
All right,
my man.
Yeah, man. You hang in there. Good job.
And folks, I'm afraid of so the time I have to be with you. God willing, we will be back on Monday. Unless something crazy happens, we'll see you on Monday afternoon, same time, same place, British Radio Africa. Until then, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, because there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness from beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't listen. When women know you, Know your friend black man. And when a catfish comes from underneath the water and say the crocodile here sweating, don't say that lie. A bald-headed man does not walk on the moonlight. Guess what? It's not what you know. It's what you can prove. Trust no shadow in the dark. This has been yours truly. Basi yon plo. Direct situ ba yege. Sebon plo da na je ko me o kire ji. Wo no muzo ni wo ji ma do to jirai. Adi wa po. The medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia. The broadcast commissioner. Ashford the Giant. The Untitled Garley. Have a good night.